Hello guys, welcome to another session. In this session we are going to look into Boolean values as well as we will also discuss about comparison operators. So let's jump into the Visual Studio Code to understand this topic. So we are into the Visual Studio Code. Now we will look into what exactly Boolean values in JavaScript. In JavaScript, the Boolean value is represented with true and false keywords. So let's understand with an example. Suppose that if you are writing console.log and if you are writing true and if you are writing false, then you will see here, you will find that the color of this text is different. That means it is representing the Boolean value. It is not the normal string which we generally print like this. If you write like this true comma false, then true which you have written without quotes, that is different than true which you have written with the quote. So these are two different things in JavaScript context. So for example, if you print this, then you will find that it will be represented like this. So let's jump into the browser. You will find over here that it has printed as is. There is no much difference, but we will see the difference in our next example. You just remember that this is how it is being printed. The Boolean value is printed without the quotes and the string value is printed with the quotes. Now let's proceed further to understand it better. So now you must be asking that what actually this true and false is. To understand it better, let's jump into a diagram. So in the last session we have used this diagram where we have discussed about the number data type and the string data type. Now there is another data type that is called Boolean data type, that is mainly having two values. One is true, another one is the false. So whatever we have discussed now, so that is a representation of the Boolean data type. So here the next question comes is what actually the significance of these Boolean values, why we should use these Boolean values. So to answer your question, I can say that it is useful in controlling the program flow using conditional statement when we are going to learn about if-else statement or switches or while or do while, and we want to compare the condition and as per the output we want to perform some logic. Then on that time this Boolean data type comes very handy to handle the logic. So let's go to the Visual Studio Code to perform some of the exercises so that you can have better understanding about what actually the significance of this Boolean values true and false. Now to understand the significance of the Boolean value, let's do an example. So first we will tell that there is a variable called email address. We wanted to verify that whether it is a valid email or not. So we will tell that email address, and within that we will pass one email address like mukesh.ranjan@xyz.com, and then what we will do, we will have an output variable. So tell that let output variable, and where we will check that whether this is a valid email or not. How we can check it? There is a method offered by JavaScript for a string that is called includes. So let's use this one, and within that we will pass the symbol @ so that it will return it is a valid or not, and then we will output the result. So console.log, and within that we will pass output. So let's look into the output, what output it given us. So here you will find that it has returned the value true. So this is a Boolean value which now we will use for further logic if we want to design any of the logic within the application. So this comes very handy for designing the application wherever we want to check some condition. So now let's proceed further. Now suppose that if we want to check that whether the value exists within an array or not, so how we can do that? Let's create an array. Let's take an example, earlier example. Suppose that if we are having a fruit ball array and we are having different fruits over here, apple, oranges, grape. Now suppose that if we want to check that whether any of the fruit is exist over here or not, so let's look into the output, what output it gives us. So here we will tell that output equal to fruit ball dot includes, and we will pass the value which we want to search. For example, in this case I am passing apple. So let's look into the output, what output it returns. So see here it has returned true. Now we will pass some different value which is not exist within an array, when we will look into what actually the output it provides us. So now we are going to provide the value which is not exist there. For example, peach. Save it. Let's jump into the browser to see the output. So see here it has returned false. So this way you can also check for the value which is exist within array or not. Now let's proceed further. Now we will discuss about the comparison operators. So let's comment this out. Suppose that if you are having two numbers and you want to compare those two numbers whether both are equals or not, so how you can do that? So let's do it. Let a equal to 20, let b equal to 20. So suppose that if you want to compare both of these numbers, so how you can do that? You need to tell that a double equal to b. So if both the values are same, then it will return true. So let's look into the output. So here you will find that it has returned true. Now suppose if you are going to change any value like this, b to 25, now check that what actually the output is. You will find that it has returned false. Why? Because a and b are not equal. Now let's proceed further. Another way to do the comparison is with the help of not equal to. So not equal to is represented with this exclamation equal to sign. So it means that not equal to. So this time this will return true. Why? Because a and b are not equal. So let's look into the output. So see here, it has returned true. Why? Because a and b are not equal. So it is satisfying the condition. So far we have seen two comparison operator. What are those? Equal to sign, that is represented with double equal to. Now we have seen not equal to. Now we will discuss about the greater than sign. So this greater than sign is used to check whether the one value is greater than another value. So let's do it. So here we are checking that whether a is greater than b. So you tell what would be the result. Exactly, it would be false. So let's jump into the browser. So you are right, it came false because a is smaller than b. So let's jump into the Visual Studio Code to see other example. Now we will look into less than. So to find which value is less than, we will use this symbol. So this comparison operator help us to find the value is lesser or not. So here we are asking that whether a is less than or b. So tell me the output. Yes, it is going to be the true. You are right. So let's jump into the browser to see the output. And exactly it gives us output true. Why it is so? Because a is lesser than b. So let's proceed further. Now let's look into some other comparison operator, that is greater than equal to. So this would be very handy when you want to check whether the two value is greater or equal to condition. So in this scenario we are going to tell that whether a is greater than equal to b, and this time I am going to change the value to 25. So let's look into the output. What output it returns? So it has returned true as well, because it contains, both are containing 25 25, and we are checking that either it should be greater or equal to with the help of greater than equal to comparison operator. Now if we will pass over here 26, so in this condition also it will return true. So let's look into that. So this time also it has returned true over here. So let's clean it and reload it so you will understand it. So see here, it has returned true. Now let's go back. Now let's provide some lesser value over here. So we will provide 24 this time and save it. Let's jump into the browser to see the output. And this time you will find that it has returned false. So let's clean it and then reload it so that you will understand it better. See here, it has returned us false. Why? Because a is having lesser value than b, that is 24 is less than 25. Now let's proceed further. Now we will look into less than equal to sign. So this time it will compare for equal to as well as lesser value. So this time we are going to tell that less than, a is less than equal to b. Yes, it is indeed. So let's look into that. So see here, it has returned true. Now let's go back. Now suppose if you are providing the value 25 again, so this time it will return true as both are equal. So here we are comparing both the condition, whether it is less than or equal to condition. So let's jump into the browser. So see here, it has returned true. Now let's try with some other condition. Now this time we are going to give the bigger value 27. Now let's go to the browser to see the output. This time it will return false. And indeed it has returned false. Let's clear it, reload it, and you will see here it has returned false. This is about number comparison. So suppose a scenario, if you want to compare the string, so you can do that as well. So let's do that. You can use the same operator for string comparison as well. For example, if I am having a string let name 1 equal to Mukesh, and there is another name, let name 2 equal to Dominic. Now suppose if I want to compare it, so we can do that as well. We can use console.log, and this time we are checking name 1 equal to name 2. So see the output, what output we will get. So it has returned false. True false it is coming. Let me comment the other console log. So here let's comment this. Now save it, go to the browser. So you will find that it has given us the false as name is not the same. Let's provide the same name so that we can check that it is working. Save it. Now let's look into the output, and this time it has returned true. So that means that this operator will work for both the data types, that is for number as well as strings. Here one thing I wanted to tell you is that whenever if you are using greater than and equal to sign with a string, then it will compare the position of that particular string in the alphabet. So for example, if you are going back again, the name 2 is Dominic, and if you are comparing that which name is greater than equal to, so you will find that the value Dominic is greater than the value Mukesh. Why it is so? Because here you will see that the letter D is coming early than Mukesh. Why? Because the position of the D is at number 4 and for position of M is 13. So that means the comparison between 4 is greater than position 13. So let's look into the output, what output we will get. So it should return true. So let's look into that. So indeed it has returned true as the same logic which I have explained you. Now let's look into another scenario. Suppose that if I am going to compare the smaller case with the upper case, so can you tell me what would be the output? So in this scenario, the lower value, the lower case is always having higher position than the capital value. So if you compare this, then this time it will return false because it considers that name 2 is greater than name 1 and it will return us false. So let's look into the browser, and it indeed returned false. So let's proceed further. So this is what I wanted to demonstrate you in this session. I hope you have learned about Boolean and the comparison operators. So whatever we have learned in this session, we are going to use in the upcoming session when we learn if else block as well as in the loop section as well. So on this note, I am stopping over here. See you in the next session. Till then, bye bye, take care.